Hello, this is the Are You Done series. It is a very simple, straightforward, no nonsense series to find out if you are actually done with concepts for the civil services examination. The first episode is going to be about UPI, and we will find out if you are actually done with the entire concept of UPI. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and you should be able to answer most of them if you are done with UPI. The first question is, when was it launched? Secondly, who developed it? Thirdly, on what infrastructure is it built? Fourthly, what act is it governed by? Fifthly, which entity regulates it? Sixth, does it share the account number and the IFSC code when you transact with it? Seventh, what is the concept of the two-factor authentication? Is it mandatory? Eighth, what are the transaction limits? What are the exceptions? Ninth, what is the concept of merchant discount rate? Does it apply to UPI? 10th, which form of UPI is used when transacting through feature phones? And what is the technology that is used here? 11th, what is the difference between UPI Lite and Lite X? 12th, in which all countries is UPI valid, or what are the cross border remittances and QR acceptance countries? Third, what is UPI 2.0? What changes did it bring, and when was it brought? 14th, what is this concept of UPI 3.0, and how is it different from UPI 2.0? If you are able to answer at least 12 out of these 14 questions confidently enough, insofar as you are satisfied, then you are mostly done with this concept and you can safely move on to another concept. But if you are not satisfied with your own answers, then you need to revise this concept. You need to ensure that you can answer all of these questions. Now, I'll give you a quick rundown about these exact same things that I've asked you. Firstly, UPI was launched in 2016. It was developed by NPCI. Here, you should also know what kind of body NPCI is, if it was made under any act, if it's a not for profit company, or if it's a statutory body or something else. The fact that it came out in 2016 means it's been 10 years for the 2026 examination, which makes it an anniversary year, so it's a very important concept. Infrastructure, it's built on the IMPS, the Immediate Payment Service. You should know a bit more about this as well. You should know that it's governed by the Payments and Settlement Systems Act of 2007, and that it's regulated by, of course, RBI. That as far as privacy concerns go, of course, account number and IFSC are not shared. Why are they not shared? Because of something called the virtual payment address. For two-factor authentication, the first thing you should know is what is two-factor authentication. It's basically very simply two ways to authenticate that you are the person who is trying to access the UPI account. So what are these two ways of accessing? One is device binding, and the other is of course your UPI pin that you use. Device binding basically means that the SIM card that you are using has to be within the phone that you are using. Unlike other apps such as in WhatsApp, where you can have a SIM be in another phone, that cannot work for UPI. Then you should know whether or not it's mandatory, and you should know that RBI has made it mandatory this very year. About transaction limits, you should have a basic idea of what the transaction limits are. The transaction limits are around 1 lakh for most transactions. For exceptions, when you're making transactions for the capital market, including the initial public offering, you have a limit of around 2 to 5 lakhs. Similarly, you have more exceptions when you're making payments to certain institutions like hospitals or education institutes. About feature phones and what technology is used here. Firstly, you should know what a feature phone is. A feature phone is very simply what we used to call a dabba phone or a keypad phone. It used to have keypads over here and a screen over here. Here you can use UPI 123 Pay, and this works for all non-smartphone users by using three technologies mostly. One is IVR calls, the other is missed calls, and it also uses sound technology. For merchant discount rates, you should first know what merchant discount rates are. Very simply put, merchant discount rates are rates that are charged for enabling digital payments. Here you should know that it does not apply to RuPay cards and does not apply to UPI. Then you should know the difference between UPI Lite and UPI Lite X. UPI Lite basically allows small payments of less than 500 rupees per transaction. It functions somewhat like a wallet and works even if the internet connection is not great. UPI Litex, on the other hand, uses something called near field communication technology, and this works for offline payments. You do not need internet for this at all. About the countries that allow UPI, this is a previous year question. You have countries like Singapore, UAE, France, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka that work with UPI. UPI 2.0 was something that was brought in 2018. It basically gave us four different things. One was an overdraft account link, which means you are no longer limited to only your savings account to link to UPI. Second is invoice in inbox, which basically lets you see the bills before you approve the payments. So you always know where the money is going, to whom it's going. Third was signed intent and QR. This basically helped you avoid tampering, and you could ensure that it was an authentic merchant request. Fourthly, you had something called mandates or e-mandates. This basically lets you auto debit directly. So if it's a recurring transaction, you don't always have to pay every single month or however often you had to pay them. After this, you had something called UPI 3.0. The first, biggest, and most important difference here is that while UPI 2.0 was an official thing, UPI 3.0 is something that is colloquially used. It is not an official terminology used, it is only informally used. But informally, the people in general say that this includes things like conversational payments, which are voice based. UPI sort of functions like an AI assistant. You have something called UPI vouchers, which is basically your e rupee. This one, not this one. This is not a CBDC. It is a simple voucher, so it is prepaid and it is purpose specific. So you can only use it for the specific purpose that it has been created for. And you had something called the UPI circle, which lets you have delegated payments. This basically means that there is one primary user and he can have around 5 secondary users who can also access his UPI account subject to limits and controls placed by him. So that in a family, if only one person has an account, still everybody else can also use his UPI or his or her UPI account. Lastly, one more thing that you should most definitely know about is the fact that we also have the idea of credit in UPI. UPI Rupee credit has also been added to the general functioning of UPI. If you were able to answer 12 out of those 14 questions, then rest assured, आपका UPI concept is done. And you can move ahead to the next concept that you want to learn. If you've gone through the previous portion, these PYQs should be an absolute cakewalk. This one was asked in 2025. About which countries is UPI active in? Take a minute to answer the question. UPI is active only currently, it's live in 8 countries. You have UAE, you have Singapore, you have Nepal, you have Sri Lanka, you have France, you have Mauritius, and you have Qatar. Those are the only countries where UPI is currently active. So the answer here is obviously only 3. This is the other question that was asked in 2017. This is a very simple, straightforward question that all of you should be able to answer. Which of the following is the most likely consequence of implementing the Unified Payments Interface (UPI)? Mobile wallets will not be necessary for online payments. Digital currency will totally replace the physical currency in about 2 years, 2 decades. FDI inflows will drastically increase. Direct transfer subsidies to poor people will become very effective. Obviously, the answer over here is A, that mobile wallets will not be necessary for online payments. That was the entire point of UPI. It's a direct bank to bank transfer. Thank you.